We are analyzing Michael Phelps from the biological, cognitive, psychoanalytical, and humanistic approaches. We are going to start with the biological approach. Michael Phelps was the youngest of three. He had two sisters. He was diagnosed with ADHD at a young age. He started swimming at 7 with his sisters for water safety, but then his sister started to compete, so of course, being the competitive person he is, he wanted to as well. At a young age, his parents got divorced and his dad basically left his life completely. With his two sisters and his mom, he basically became the man of the household, which was very stressful on young Michael. The divorce of Michael's parents could have caused him to have an active behavioral inhibition system or an active activation system. There could be arguments made for both, and I'm going to talk about those next. His parents' divorce could have caused him to have an active behavioral inhibition system, which in turn could have caused or contributed to his anxiety. Also, later in his life, he battled a lot with depression, which also could have been an effect of his behavioral inhibition system. And having an active behavioral inhibition system would cause him to move away from pleasure. So that would be anything from maintaining friendships, being able to find love, maintaining relationships, which he struggled with in his adult life as well. On the other side of the spectrum, if his parents' divorce would have caused him to have an active behavioral activation system, that would cause him to have troubles with impulses. And we know now, after doing research, that later in his life, he struggled with addiction, which could have been an effect of having an active behavioral activation system. Michael Phelps had to deal with a lot of hardships in his childhood, whether it was his parents' divorce, dealing with two sisters, his ADHD, and depression. It was hard for him to be able to cope with things, but being able to channel his anxiety and ADHD in the pool helped him focus and allowed him to control his extra energy.
When Michael started working with his longtime coach, Bob Bowman, at age 11, no one knew what kind of success he would have. Bob saw a drive and determination in Michael and thought he could get him to the Olympics if Michael put in the work. Bob is quoted as saying, "I couldn't make Michael work hard, and I didn't have to. He showed up and did the work himself." In fact, in the years leading up to the 2008 Olympics, Michael didn't miss a practice for 1,826 days. That's every single day of the year for 5 years, including holidays, birthdays, and a leap year. In this, it is evident that Michael has a very high internal locus of control. He believes he is in control of the outcomes in his life. He went into the '08 Olympics wanting to do something that no one had ever done before. Have the perfect Olympics. He did just that. He went 8 for 8, swimming 17 times in 9 days. If that wasn't enough, Michael broke his wrist weeks before he was set to swim at the Beijing Olympic trials. He refused to let the setback stop him from achieving his goal. He had surgery and was on a stationary bike the next day, and for the next few weeks to continue to build his strength. Michael knew that if he wanted to complete his goal at the Olympics, then he had to get back in the water. So he was back in the pool before he was cleared by doctors. This training and preparation worked because he did what he set out to do. It is evident that Michael has a very high level of self-efficacy and self-regulation. When he started swimming, he decided that if he wanted to be successful, he would have to set goals for himself. This not only included long-term goals, such as going to the Olympics, being an Olympic champion, changing the sport of swimming, but also individual goals for each race. For his races at the '08 Olympics, he set a time goal for each race and hit every goal except one, where his goggles filled with water and he couldn't see, so he had to count his strokes, estimating when he would touch the wall. Even so, on this race, he was within 1 second of his goal time, and he broke the world record. But he wasn't happy because he didn't hit his goal time. With this performance, he said that if he could change one race in that Olympics, that would be the one he would redo. Michael sets his goals with the purpose of achieving them. He realized that at a young age, that he sometimes had to make sacrifices in order to achieve his goals. When asked if he missed not being able to go to school dances or spending extra time with his friends, he said no, I wouldn't change anything because I knew what needed to be done to achieve my goals, and in the end, that was the most important thing. If you want something and you want it bad enough, you will make sacrifices for it. Michael was able to push through the pain and the practices because of his desire to achieve his goals. Many say that Michael has completed his long-term goal of changing the sport of swimming, but he's not there yet. He thinks there is still more to be done. In 2000, at Phelps' first Olympics, swimming was almost unknown to the world. After Phelps' 2004 Olympics, people were starting to pay more attention to him and swimming as a sport. After the 2008 Olympics, everyone knew the Golden Boy, who had the perfect Olympics and now the most gold ever won in a single Olympics. In 2012, the entire world watched as he became the most decorated Olympic athlete, even after not training for London. And in Rio, swimming was one of the most watched Olympic events, as everyone watched Michael surpass himself as the most decorated Olympian of all time, with 28 medals, 23 of them being gold. Outside of the pool, he started the MP Foundation to help teach children water safety. Seeing that drowning was the #1 cause of death in children ages 1 to 4, Michael knew that this was not okay. His foundation now has water safety programs in all but 3 states. But still, Michael wants more. His foundation is working on not only being in every state, but worldwide as well. It is easy for us to say that Michael has completed his goal of changing the sport of swimming, but he continues to set and achieve goals because he feels as though there is still more to do. However, even the most decorated Olympian of all time has setbacks and challenges to go through.
From London to Rio has been a bumpy one, and when we sat down, he was candid about the demons he's faced during his career, and he told me it wasn't long ago he was sick of swimming.
And then leading into London, I didn't want anything to do with the sport.
Going into London?
Yeah, I think I was just over it. I think personally I had a lot of struggle getting through the 4 years after '08. I just don't think I really knew what I wanted to do.
With no other choice, Phelps tried to put up a good front. But the truth was he had lost interest in swimming and began to miss practices, a lot of them, causing a tense relationship with longtime coach Bob Bowman. I was rather surprised to pick up a copy of Sports Illustrated magazine. And there you are in the cover. And it told a story in the magazine about how in the months leading up to London, you and Bob were not getting along all that well. And one time in particular, you had a brutal fight. He said, we go at it. World War III, I smash my watch against the wall. We get into the parking lot. I peel out. I flip in the bird. And he flips me the bird. He doesn't come back for 10 days.
Sounds about right.
This is leading up to London.
Yeah.
You're in the prime of your training for the Olympic Games, and you don't show up for 10 days. What's going on?
I didn't care. I honestly didn't care.
It says he came back on day 11 because Matt Lauer was in town to interview him for the Today Show.
Yeah, I had something to do with it.
They had no idea that's what our preparation was like for London.
No one did. That's why when I say I almost got away with it.
You never, I remember talking to you about your training.
Oh, I was pretty good.
A lot during that interview. You were saying it was going pretty well.
Yeah, I was pretty good at that.
Here comes Phelps to the wall! Gets it back! Phelps walked away from London with 6 more medals, 4 of those gold. But his demons were catching up with him. After leaving a casino on September 29th, 2014, Phelps was pulled over and arrested for DUI. So let's go back to September 29th. That's the night you were arrested. DUI, not your first run-in with that subject. What led up to it?
I set myself down a downward spiral. I think it was more of a sign than anything else that I had to get something under control, whatever it was. I look back at that night and everything happened for a reason.
So it was a cry for help?
I believe so, yeah.
Freud talks about how your childhood is very important when looking at adulthood. Just like talked about in the beginning, Phelps had a very powerful childhood with his sister, father, mother, and his ADHD. I would like to say that his ADHD has impaired his decision he made after the 2012 Olympics. During this part, I will be talking about how the id, superego, and ego impact Phelps' life, and what defense mechanisms he uses while suffering.
During an interview, Phelps was asked a question about what challenges he faced during depression. He said that he was in the darkest part of his life and he hit rock bottom. He had no self-esteem or self-love, which caused him to push people who loved him out of his life. After the 2012 Olympics, he said he was done, so he made bad decisions such as DUIs and speeding. He locked himself in his room and had thoughts of killing himself, which comes from the id telling him he isn't good enough. He decided something needed to change and get help through behavior therapy. This comes from his superego telling him to get back to do what he loves. During his rough patch of depression, addiction, and other bad behaviors, he used the defense mechanism of sublimation to take his bad urges to motivate himself to continue his training and allow the people he loved back into his life. Another defense mechanism you can see popping through is displacement. I see this because he was embarrassed about his DUIs that he takes it out on his family by pushing them away. He had feared of hurting his family, so he pushed them away during his hard time. After he realized he wanted to better himself, he let his family back into his life, and now they are better than ever.
Michael Phelps contributed his depression to multiple factors, including his issues with substance abuse and family issues. He then read The Purpose-Driven Life, and the book helped him in his relationships with families and others. After his parents' divorce, Phelps and his mother became close. She had endless support for him and his sisters, 3 different practice times at 3 different pools while being a teacher and going back to school for her own degree. Since Phelps' father was absent, he began to mature and develop a sense of responsibility for the family. Michael stated that becoming a father to Boomer was the best feeling he had ever had in his life. Love helped him turn his life around into the father, husband, friend, son, and athlete that he is today. Michael developed an importance, a responsibility for young Boomer. He found his purpose in life. He found who he was besides being a swimmer. He overcame his isolation. Young Boomer helped his father realize what unconditional love was and bring him out of a low point in his life. Over the course of 8 years, Michael and current wife, Nicole, were consistently on and off. When Michael checked into rehab, Nicole provided endless support for him. After he completed rehab, he decided it was time to make things official with Nicole. The two secretly got married, and ever since, Michael has been showered with unconditional love. Love from Michael's family, his wife, his son, and his friends aided him in recovery from a low point in his life. Michael felt a void in his life due to feelings of abandonment from his father. When his parents divorced, they did not keep in touch very well, and their relationship suffered. Fred Phelps, Michael's father, worked as a state trooper in Maryland, and his job conflicted often with their relationship. When Michael was younger, his father was supposed to attend a meet that he competed in. Due to the relief worker not showing up, Fred was not able to make it to this meet, where Michael also set a new personal record. Michael felt complete disappointment in his father. While Michael was in rehab in Arizona, his father visited and rekindled his relationship. Overcoming the past difficulties they shared helped Michael's recovery. The love between Michael and his father helped overcome his feelings of abandonment as they moved forward with their relationship. They became close and refound their relationship. Phelps questioned his existence and place in the world when he had a rocky relationship with his father. The love Phelps' father had for him assisted him in overcoming his depression. Over the course of the next years, multiple people assisted Michael in overcoming his depression and helped him realize who he was other than just the Olympic swimmer that everyone knew him as.